Hey guys, it's Miko from IRs Suck, and this is why most IRs suck. Now, I've been a protector of the impulse response format for like 2 decades now, and I will continue to be that person. However, I also understand that quite many people have had negative experience with impulse responses, and today I will be showing you what the reason very likely has been. Now, I want to thank you for watching this video by giving you free impulse responses that I just shot out of this cabinet. Links down below. Also, if you haven't looked into IRs Suck's impulse responses, now it's Black November time, so all impulse responses in our store are 50% off, and here is an additional discount code that you can use to get an extra 25% off on top of that 50% discount. It's a sick deal. Let's jump straight into it. Now, I like to compare shooting IRs with taking photographs. If you have someone with all the gear and all the experience of making a really good photograph, they can do it in 5 minutes and they'll do a much better job than an amateur doing it for the first time, although the amateur will be more excited for sure. Same goes here. This mic up took me 5 minutes to do, but I bet you that you will like this impulse response. Now, there is one very basic thing that applies to photographs and impulse responses that is very common knowledge when it comes to photographs. For example, right now I'm shooting this video on a Sony camera. Sony cameras tend to have skin tone problems. Sometimes my skin is green, sometimes it's red. So what I have to do is shoot this video in RAW format and then use calibration afterwards to fix that problem. Same thing applies to shooting an impulse response. If I use this power amp, this tube power amp of this amplifier, I will get the color of this tube power amp. If I use a solid state amplifier, I get a more neutral response, but this still has color in it. Now, 99% of people making impulse responses nowadays are using a solid state power amp, meaning that they have a neutral-ish response, but it's not 100% neutral, meaning that that same comparison I just made where my skin tone might be a little bit red or green for you, that same thing applies to impulse responses, and different impulse response developers may have different colors coming from their gear and setup that they have not calibrated out of their sound. That is the secret sauce to IRs Suck impulse responses. We have calibration. We've always had calibration. So if you get our packs from 6 years ago, they have color calibration and you have fully raw captures that will work forever. Now, all of these clips are going through the Amped Volcano plugin. I'm bypassing the cabinet section, and for this teal bit, I'm using the ML color calibrated IR. This is what it sounds like. Now, this is just using the tube amp. This is the solid state amplifier, the orange pedal baby. The ML calibrated one is the neutral one. The tube power amp one has way more low end to it and isn't as bright, while the solid state one is too tight. It doesn't have enough low end, so there's some filtering in the low end. Let's use Gliss EQ once again like I did in my previous video. In green we have the MLIR, and in red we have the tube power amp. So you can see here that the green is the MLIR, so we have more clarity in the top end and we have a tighter low end, while if I would shoot this impulse response with a tube amp, even though it's set to quite neutral settings, it would be very muffled sounding. Now, if I use a solid state amplifier, once again, this is not the most neutral solid state amplifier, but it is quite neutral. It still has some high end and low end filtering, and it's not 100% neutral in the mid-range. So now in red we have solid state, and in green we have the MLIR. what we see is that the ML-IR has more low end to it. And if we just compare the sound example, tiny things, but there is that depth that is just gone when you're using a solid state amplifier. We have a fourth option here, which is the AI cabinet. And this is here only because I get questions about this, why we're not using AI as the cabinet modeling. And the reason is because impulse responses are better at modeling cabinets than AI is. This AI cab is very premium. Let's just start there. It's the same mic up, and you can actually get this in the files too, so you can try it out yourself. It's the same mic up. It's done with the ML separation. So this is color adjusted AI cabinet modeling. I'll show you why it's not as good. Let's compare them side by side, by the way. So let's have the AI in red and ML-IR in green. So you can actually tell that they are quite similar in their frequency response. They are neutral, maybe a tiny bit more low end on the AI one. But if you really look at this graph, this is a very unforgiving graph, and it's giving us essentially the same thing. Let's A/B, they will sound nearly identical. Let's start with the ML-IR. I'm demonstrating it here by sending a snap, a fully flat snap through these different cabinet models. And let's have a look at what it looks like. So this is, once again, the same thing. If we're using the power amp, we're getting this kind of result. This is solid state amplifier. This is the ML way, and this is the AI. So they look similar here, but if I really zoom in, you can actually tell that so much of the IR tail is missing here in the AI snap. Also, something very important to note is that when you're doing a tube amp capture, you get a lot of noise. So this is actually noise here in the tube power amp capture, and solid state is quite clean. So hey, just to point out, the ML-IR was also shot with the tube amplifier, and it's the cleanest out of the bunch. Quite many people are already demanding more than impulse responses for cabinet modeling. Now, I want to make it very clear that most modelers are not even using the impulse response to its full capacity. So fractal audio systems, XFX, they support impulse responses up to 170 milliseconds. So this is 200 milliseconds, this full length here. If I would demonstrate it, it's this length of this IR that I'm, demonstrating here. Now, what is that length for Helix? So Line 6 Helix supports 42 milliseconds, just 40 milliseconds. All this tail is lost if you're using a Helix. How about Quad Cortex? 21 milliseconds. They're using just this small bits of information of an impulse response. Now, just to demonstrate what is missing if you're using something like a Quad Cortex, it's this part of an impulse response. So even for these two close mics, there is some natural room that lasts, let's say, up until that 170 milliseconds. I would say 200 milliseconds would be perfect, but there is room reverb coming through these microphones that is audible. Now, if you're using a Helix, you're losing this. And if you're using a Fractal Audio XFX, you're losing this. I can't hear anything. When you are asking for the need of better cabinet modeling or something, just understand that for CPU saving reasons, these modelers like Quad Cortex or Helix aren't even fully using the impulse response formats and its full resolution capabilities. And don't get me started with Kemper, because they just take this information and turn it into an EQ or something. They don't have any tail to them. It's just EQ. Now, I already said that the AI cabinet is not as good for cabinet modeling as impulse responses. Let me demonstrate it here. This is the AI cab. Again. This is the ML-IR. Can you hear the difference? I'm not sure if you can. But it's that natural ambience. It's completely missing on the AI cabinets. And this is actually something that I've noticed when trying to make AI reverbs. Yeah, I do things. But let's just compare the different tails of these. So I'm gonna loop this. It's gonna be maybe a little bit jarring, but this is the ML-IR tail. This is the AI tail. So there's information for the AI cab until like 60 milliseconds. And as I already demonstrated, the ML-IR has information up until like 200 milliseconds. So all this is missing. And I would actually say that even the information here in the 60 milliseconds actually doesn't have any of the ambience and dimension that you actually have in an impulse response. If current modelers are not capable of even running the full resolution impulse responses, how could they load the full resolution AI cabinet models? I don't really see the point, especially when you are using the AI cabinet, you're not getting the ambience of the mic up that you'd hear even with these close mic ups. And like I promised, check the link in the comments. All these impulse responses that I demonstrated here, you can actually try them out yourself and do your own tests and even use them wherever you want. Make a recording that sounds professional. And since it's November, that means that for ML Sound Lab, it's Black November. Like I said, everything is 50% off, and that includes impulse responses, what you heard here, done 100 different times with the best cabinets in my collection, with the reflex cabinets, with the reflex speakers as well. And with this super duper discount code, you can get an extra 25% off on top of that discount. So go get it now. It's a no-brainer. Do it now before you forget. And this discount code may disappear or not. Who knows? See you guys later. I've been Mikko from ML Sound Lab. Bye bye.